Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that every human being experiences, but for highly sensitive people, it can feel especially heavy, overwhelming, and sometimes even unbearable. That something is shame. Now, shame isn't just about feeling guilty for something you've done, it's deeper than that. It's about who you believe you are. It's that inner voice whispering or sometimes screaming, I'm not enough. I am unworthy. I will never get it right. And if you've ever felt those words inside your body, then you already know how exhausting it can be to live with shame. But here's the thing, shame isn't permanent, it's not a life sentence. The brain has the remarkable ability to rewire itself, which means the inner voice that feels so harsh right now can, with practice, become kinder, more supportive, and more compassionate. And today, I want to walk you through exactly how that happens and how you can begin. So, understanding shame. Let's start by breaking this down. Guilt and shame are often mixed up, but they're not the same thing. Guilt is about behavior. Guilt says, I made a mistake, I did something wrong. In small doses, guilt can actually be healthy. It helps us repair relationships, learn from our actions, and make better choices. Shame, though, is much more personal. Shame says, I am the mistake, I am wrong, I am broken. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because when you believe deep down that you're fundamentally flawed, you start to see yourself through that lens in every situation. For highly sensitive people who already process emotions deeply and notice every detail, shame can take root more easily. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive as a child. Maybe you felt like you didn't fit in, or you were misunderstood by friends, teachers, or even your own family. Those early experiences often create the fertile ground where shame grows. And over time, it becomes the voice in your head. I am too much. I am not enough. I will never be good at this. No one wants me around. Let's look at the brain science behind shame. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Neuroscience shows us that thoughts are not just ideas floating in the air. Every thought we have travels along a neural pathway in the brain, like electricity moving along a wire. The more often you think a certain thought, the stronger that pathway becomes. It's like carving a trail in the forest. The more you walk it, the clearer it gets. Eventually, it becomes the automatic route your brain takes, even if it's not a healthy one. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm stupid, I'm unlovable, I will never get it right, those circuits fire again and again until they're almost reflexive. Psychologists call these automatic thoughts. And here's the kicker. Shame and self-criticism actually reduce the brain's ability to focus and regulate impulses. The effect is similar to sleep deprivation. Imagine trying to live your daily life sleep deprived. You'd be irritable, unfocused, anxious. That's exactly how shame wears us down. Now, I'm going to make a confession, and I want to pause here and share something personal. There was a time when I was preparing a talk about shame and perfectionism, and guess what happened? I started panicking. My brain was racing. What if I forget my words? What if I stumble? What if I'm not good enough? I stayed up late, revising and rewriting, and then suddenly I realized I was literally embodying the problem I was trying to talk about. I was striving for perfection while preparing to speak about imperfection, and that awareness was almost funny. in a way. So I stopped. I asked myself, what would I say to someone else who was in this exact situation? And the answer came. It's okay to be imperfect. You don't need to be flawless to be worthy. That little shift didn't erase my nerves, but it gave relief. It stopped the spiral, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse of how powerful self compassion really is. Now, let's talk about how to begin rewiring shame. So, how do we take all of this and apply it in our lives? How do we begin to rewire the brain away from shame and toward compassion? Here are some steps you can try. First, notice your inner critic. Throughout the day, pay attention to the things you say to yourself. You might even keep a small notebook and jot down the harsh phrases you hear most often. Awareness is the first step. Second, question your thoughts. When you hear, I will never get this right, pause and ask, am I 100% sure this is true? Or is this just an old habit? If there's even 1% of doubt, don't let the thought pass unchallenged. 3. Change the tone. Try shifting from harsh, rigid language into softer, encouraging words. Instead of, I can't do this, try, this is hard, but I'm learning. It still motivates you, but without tearing you down. And fourth, practice compassionate acceptance. Remind yourself, being imperfect doesn't make you unworthy, it makes you human. Every single one of us makes mistake. Now, the friend trick. If you're stuck, ask, what would I say to a dear friend if they were struggling with this? And then say exactly those words to yourself. It sounds simple, but it works because it taps into a pathway your brain already knows. Compassion. Now, why self-compassion matters? Research shows that people who practice self-compassion are less likely to spiral into depression and anxiety. Their stress hormone levels go down. Their bodies actually relax. They breathe easier, their hearts beat more steadily, they're more resilient when life throws challenges their way. For highly sensitive people, this is life changing. Because when you're constantly absorbing the emotions of others, when the world already feels overwhelming, the last thing you need is your own mind turning against you. Self compassion then becomes your anchor. So let's circle back. Shame tells us you are not enough, but compassion answers you are human. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to feel, and that is enough. It doesn't happen overnight. Rewiring the brain takes practice and repetition, just like learning a new language. But every small moment you pause, notice, and choose kindness, that's a step toward freedom. So, my invitation for you is simple. Pay attention to your self talk. Notice the words you use. And when shame shows up, try asking yourself, what would compassion say right now? Because whatever you tell yourself, you are listening. Thank you for being here today, for giving your heart and your mind the space to soften. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need it too. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be human. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself.